You guys could honestly have been doing anything else today. Literally been going to the beach. It's like freaking nice outside. Go anywhere with air condition, but you guys decided to come here. I guess learn and talk. And I love talking real estate. I love talking shop, but most importantly, just love talking about what real estate as a vehicle can do for you. And I think that's what uh, is most important in life, right? I think I remember when I first started out, I was working corporate. I worked at a little company called Oracle back in the day. I remember just being there, like thinking that like one day, I'll just work really hard and I'll be retired. I'll be a CEO and all that stuff, and it's gonna be great, right? And I really started working and realized like, oh my God, like I don't know if that's gonna be the case, and like kind of seeing the future. Like I don't know if that's even what I want to do, right? Is work that hard and not really have a family life, and I just kind of saw it over and over and over again. But we're taught that all the time, especially from school on. Like we're just taught in our society that it's like you have to go work and that's all you do. You work, you make babies, and then you retire and you die. Right? That's kind of the American dream right now. Um, and yeah, I mean, I remember just even sitting in the seat that you guys are in right now, and just learning real estate, like getting into it for the first time, just being super nervous, being scared as hell. How do I actually do this? Does it actually make sense? Does it actually work? And nowadays, just made that jump, I guess, and made a lot of mistakes along the way that we're going to talk about today. But through that, learned a crap ton, and was able to now scale our portfolio. We have about $54 million in assets under management. So that includes syndication, includes our own personal portfolio. Our personal portfolio has about 382 units. My wife is a real estate agent as well, and we run 5 different businesses, right? So Zenko's Homes, which is my wife's brokerage, Zenko's University, right? That we help educate and teach people. Zenko's Capital, which is our investment arm. Zenko's Cares, which is our nonprofit, and then Zen Farms, which is our mental health facility in Hawaii. So what I like to say, guys, is that we like to help people go from having active income, which is really trading your time for money, right? Who here is working right now? A job, a job? Yeah, almost everyone. Oh, JK. What's up, online peeps? I didn't neglect you guys. I'm just starting the presentation right now. What's up? All right, here we go. Can you all see my screen, online peeps? All right, give me a type of 1 in the chat if you guys can hear me all right. Lorenzo, what's going on, brother? Leonardo, 111, Joseph, love it. All right, so awesome, guys. So really, let me get back into my slides here. All right, so yeah, want to help people go from active income, which you trade your time for money, to eventually be able to focus on investing in passive income, which is making money while we sleep, right? So eventually that we can focus on our passion income, which is doing the things that we love, doing the things that fills us with joy, with energy. Things like our Hawaii Retreat Center, like that's something that like we love because we get to help people and transform people along the way. And I think life's too short to just again slave away and work and work and work and then one day die, right? Like that sounds scary to me. And I've always said that on my deathbed, I just want to be proud of the person that that I was, right? And that we're able to make this world a better place than we found it. As corny as that sounds. So again, I know you guys are all going to ask this, so I'm going to put it up front. You guys want a copy of this presentation? You can put this number down. You can take a picture of this, or you can just DM me fire to my Instagram, which is just Calvin Chin REI. So take a picture of that, and then we'll send you the presentation after. Same with you online peeps as well. All right. So big why. So success for us is just being able to do things with who you want, doing what you want, when you want, whenever you want, right? I heard one of the best stories of success was just like being able to just pick up the bill for your family and not even care, right? And I think that's so true because so many times we're so stressed and anxious about the future, right? Or we look back at the past and we're depressed, right? Because we didn't do what we wanted to do. But we forget sometimes to be present, which is just be here right now, right? And really, understand what's happening in the moment, right? And that's what real estate can do as a vehicle, but at the end of the day, it's just a vehicle, right? To be able to get your time and energy back, right? And that's really the crux of what we're gonna be talking about today, right? Is I'm gonna be sharing and be super vulnerable with you guys. So I appreciate if we stay within the walls of this confinement, same with the online walls as well. But I'm gonna be sharing basically our whole journey, right? And all the I guess, big moments that we had that really helped us get to where we are today. And hopefully, you guys take some of that and, one of you guys, something lights up and you guys are able to take that and take it for your own journey as well. Sound like a plan? All right, sweet. All right, so here is our timeline, right? So 2015 is when we first got into real estate, right? So my dream was still to climb the corporate ladder, right? We had 0 doors. Our net worth was negative $30,000. And that's because we invested into a $30,000 real estate coaching program. We had about $5,000 to our name, right? So we maxed out our credit cards and did that, and we're negative 30. But learned a lot from there. 2016, bought our first house hack in the city, lost $100,000 to a flipper. Ask me about that story later. I would absolutely say we were real estate noobs at that time. Had about 2 units at that point. Me and my wife both had our house hacks, and mine was in San Francisco, hers was in South San Francisco. Syndicate net worth, 2017, bought our first out-of-state investment property. Kind of ran out of capital, like a lot of people do in California. So it was like, all right, like maybe I can go out of state where it's a lot cheaper and maybe I can get higher returns, right? So felt like a real estate rookie. Still felt like we were trying to figure everything out. 2018, bought our first multifamily, self-managed it, but had this mindset that, all I had to do was save and buy and save and buy. And we've been talking about that a lot. Everything that you see in yellow here, guys, we're going to be highlighting that in more detail, right? But so just remember that. Started gaining confidence, got to 8 units, 823K net worth. 2019, we did our first BRRRR because we ran out of capital. We're like, all right, we have to recycle capital now. So anyone know what BRRRR is? Anyone not know what BRRRR is? All right, cool. We got rock stars in here. But then we ran out of debt to income, right? But it was really cool. Our assets started buying more assets. So things that appreciated at that point, we were a 1031 exchange, a couple properties, refi a couple properties, bought first commercial multifamily because they don't look at debt to income. Bought our dream house in Brisbane. Started using tax strategies, right? So me and my wife, we've been paid a lot of taxes legally for the last 4 years because of real estate. Right, started breaking new barriers. It's 7 deals in 2021. So started doing a lot of fast momentum. Obviously, there too really helped, create that momentum. 2022, retired Jennie's parents. We moved them from New York City, bought them a place in South City. Got sued, got audited. All right, I wear that as a badge of honor. You guys see that here? Let me minimize this real quick. Yeah, so got sued, got audited. I always say, like, people freak out, like, oh my God, you got sued, you got audited. Are you okay? Like, what I always say is, like, hey, if you don't have enough, you're not gonna get sued. But if you have enough, right, you're gonna get sued, right? And so I kind of felt like, oh wow, I made it. Like, I got sued. That's awesome, right? Got audited, right, by IRS too. And what we found out was that we owed a whopping $111 that we were off, right? 111. That was it. All that worked. $111. That's like the SF mandate tax. That's like a dinner with just the SF mandate tax, right? So it made us feel a lot better about ourselves. Like, okay, we are doing things right. And yes, $111. I forgot to deduct, a dinner or something like that, right? Whatever. And in 2023, general partner on a $21 million deal, which I never thought I'd do that big. Seth, Eric, you guys were in that deal as well. So a lot of partners in that as well. So yeah, we get to do things together. And so all the things in yellow we're going to highlight today because those were really key moments in our journey, right? I won't talk about the losing 100K. You can ask me about that after because that one hurts too much. But all right, cool. All right, so again, when I was young, when I was just first getting into life, I guess after college, I thought I would just get a nice job in a good company, which was Oracle at the time. And my dream was like, all right, I'm gonna become a VP of sales and I'm gonna go and be the CEO, right, of this company. And I thought that was what I was destined for. That's the only path I actually knew. Right? I didn't know there was other vehicles. I know real estate or stocks or there's definitely no Bitcoin back then. So I thought that was the only path, right? And so kind of looking at the future, I was like, wow, I don't want to be that person. Like that seems like their life is, I don't know. Like I kind of look at the person 10 years from now. Like, okay, if I work 10 years here, like, am I gonna be that person? And are they happy? And every single time I'd be like, that person does not look happy. That person's divorced. They are a robot. They're a corporate robot, right? And it just made me feel like, ooh, right? I didn't know if I want to do that. And I had thought back then that the currency of life was money, right? And I think that's what we're always taught. You need money to do everything, right? But when I was an employee, I didn't own that. I didn't own my time and my energy. And what I realized was that the real currency in life is time, right? Like you don't hear anyone on their deathbed say, I wish I had more money or whatever. They wish they had more time. They wish they spent more time with their family. They wish they had more experiences, all that stuff. And there's a quote from, I think it was the Dalai Lama that I love. It says that humans nowadays never live because the first half of their life, they're trading their health to make wealth. And in the second half of their life, they're trading their wealth to get back their health, thus never living at all. And I swear I would get that tattooed on my body if Jennie would let me, but she won't. But it's also too long. But that always hit me of like, wow, like you're right. Like we don't do all this stuff. Like we try so hard to make money, and then then we're spending all that money just to get back our health. And I didn't want that. And so has anyone ever read the E-Myth book? I don't know what that is. It's an awesome book. There's an E-Myth book about real estate investors, but there's the E-Myth in general, and that's about like running your life as a CEO of your life, right? And it talks about being a technician versus an entrepreneur. A technician being that you're an employee, right? Meaning that you don't have control of your time, right? You're doing tasks, but you're not doing bigger picture stuff. And so that's what I felt when I was working. I was doing these tasks. I would do these reports. I would do all these things that really didn't matter in the grand scale of things, right? I would sell licenses and software. Like that doesn't even matter, right? Like, and I want to do something more. So, really the myth really taught us was work on the business, not in it, right? And I was a technician, right? Even when we talk about real estate, you could be talking about self-managing properties. You could be talking about making cold calls or painting walls yourself, right? That's a technician role, right? If you're a manager or an entrepreneur, you have a property manager, you have deals that are sent to you, have contractors, maintenance people do stuff for you, right? And this applies to anything in life, right? So like, I love the example of the McDonald's brothers, right? So who here has ever had a McDonald's burger, Big Mac, French fries? Let's all agree the French fries are probably the best, right? That's still the best French fries out there. No? In-N-Out? Oh, wow. Well done or medium well? Well done. Wow. Okay. So you like them like crispy. Okay. So you were like an In-N-Out connoisseur. So anyways, the McDonald's brothers, they were really good technicians, right? They were really good at working in their one McDonald's restaurant in LA, right? And then Ray Kroc comes along, 60-something-year-old Ray Kroc, and is like, wow, these are amazing. They have systems here. Like, let me actually create these systems for it and then grow it out, right? And that's becoming an entrepreneur. That's becoming a manager, right? You're not having to do these low-level tasks anymore. You're doing things that actually are making a big difference, right? In general, and that really excited me because I didn't want to just climb the corporate ladder anymore and just, I don't know. I felt like my promotions were based on how much my manager liked me versus on merits, right? And as at least this way, if I owned my own business or I did my own thing, I controlled that, right? I lived and died by my own doing, which meant that I was going to do everything I could to make sure it worked, right? Who here relates for that? All right, 3 people. Okay, cool. All right, so that was that kind of squashed my dream of climbing the corporate ladder, right? Of like trying to figure out how to get out of it. And I think Jennie and I, kind of knew this from an early start. So obviously invested in a real estate coaching program, read Rich Dad Poor Dad like a lot of people did, podcasts, YouTube videos, all that stuff. But honestly, it felt kind of overwhelming, felt kind of intimidating still, to be honest. So we started slow, right? We bought a house hack, right, in the city. And everyone know what a house hack is, right? So all right, like let me go buy that. I think I put 10% down on a condo in the city, and Jennie bought a 4-bedroom house in South San Francisco. She was actually the house hacker, where she actually rented out each room in her place. It was a 4-bedroom, rented out each room, including her own room, which I didn't know. And she moved in with me without me really knowing that she moved in. She just had all her stuff. And I eventually asked her to move in. She was like, "Oh yeah, cool." She like brought a backpack over. She's like, "All right, I'm done." I was like, "Wow, I guess you were already moved in." So that mindset was, and this is the Rich Dad Poor Dad principle, was just buy assets first. It's such an easy principle. And when I was young, living in the city, my 20s, early 20s, it was really easy to think that I was hot shit, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm making 47 grand a year, sick, right? I'm making money. I'm going out to the bars, I'm going to restaurants. I'm thinking I actually have money, right? And then you go to your bank account, you're like, oh, I'm losing money. What's going on here, right? And Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of thought like, okay, well, actually, it's really easy. Save more than you spend, and invest the rest. Right. So I was like, all right, let me buy assets first. So I bought this condo. So I was living in San Francisco actually at the time in Inner Richmond, living with 5 other guys. So it was like a frat house in there. Like it was so dirty, kind of nasty. I'm not gonna lie, beautiful place, but just nasty. I was paying $1,500 for rent. I'm pretty sure our bathroom had black mold in it. Right. I paid $400 quarterly in parking tickets. So again, my housing expense was about $1,500 for rent to share with 5 other dudes, right? By the way. And when I bought this asset, it was actually just a San Francisco condo in Soma. It was a 1-bedroom plus a den, about 700 square feet, right? My PITI was about $1,200. So my mortgage, tax, insurance, all that said, $1,200. HOA, as you guys know, is expensive in the city. That was about $759. But we did have a pool, or we did have a hot tub, so that was pretty cool. So rented out the den. Actually, the first person we rented out to. So this den, needless to say, was tiny. It was like literally the size of maybe 2 of these tables combined, right? Christine actually lived there a little bit too. But the first person we rented it out to was, this is before we even knew, what midterm rental was, but it was a guy doing a coding boot camp. That was very big in the city back then. And again, this is probably like a 100 square foot little room that was also our laundry room. Did not have a door, by the way, or anything, right? We had a curtain. And and basically we charged him $1,200 for rent, right? And if you can see these math here, like basically covered our PITI, that covered our whole mortgage, right? And so our left housing expense was $759. And let's be real, guys, like housing is the most expensive part of anyone's expenses. If you just look at your monthly, what your expenses are, yeah, housing is gonna be number one, right? And so that was really eye-opening for me, and I wouldn't even know that if we didn't start tracking our income and expenses too. Right? So that was just a big like aha moment. And we still do this today. I literally track every month. We have what's called a family dashboard or a family boardroom where Jennie and I sit down and review our finances. We'll talk about what we learned that week and what we need help with and all that stuff, and just keeps it open communication on all that stuff. So this was the first thing that we did, right? And just to kind of show you guys the differences that if anyone's still renting right now, right, the 5-year difference in ownership was, one, I saved about 45 grand in housing expense. I'm not paying rent anymore. My tenant paid down $25,000 of my principal, right? And I gained 62 grand of appreciation. Again, condos don't appreciate a lot. Gained 62 grand, right? So it was $129,000 difference though, right? Of me buying it versus renting that. And honestly, lifestyle was a lot better, not living in that black mold frat house essentially anymore. But 129K, that's a lot. Who here would love an extra 129K? Yeah, we all would, right? And then basically I took the 129K and we bought the 16 unit, further down the road. But when I actually sold it, it was $787,000, put $157,000 down. And so cash was about 3-4K a month right now. And it added 500K of equity, right? So the 129K of savings then now be an additional 500K plus 3K a month of additional income, right? So that just small little tweak, right, was huge. And if anyone is still renting, I think house hacking is one of the best things you could do. Low risk, harder to do in California nowadays, for sure. But you can make it creative. Like you can make it work too. So that was number one. Okay, so then from there, lots of creative flavor. We'll move past that. Again, you could DM me if you want to hear a story about that. But we kind of ran out of income, we kind of ran out of cash, and we're like, all right, we can't buy another Bay Area house, so let's look at a state, like a lot of people do, right? Columbus, Ohio, that's a cheaper area, right? I would say than California, a lot cheaper, right? So 2017 bought our first investment property. Now, what's like the one thing people get stuck on when they're like, all right, cool, I'm gonna go invest somewhere? Eric, what was the number one thing that was like a big stopping point for you, a bottleneck? Now it's paralysis. Yeah. First thing is like, cool, I'm gonna go do this. But where? All right. There's a bajillion cities in the United States, right? And all of them have merit. All of them have something good about it, or something have bad stuff about it, right? So, there's a bajillion of them. So, identifying target market was number one thing. So, the questions I'd ask myself are a couple of things. One is based on what I'm trying to accomplish in my life, right? What does this market fit that? Is it cash flow? Is it equity? If you just go for equity, stay in the Bay Area. You don't care about cash flow. You make a lot of money. You don't care. You have negative cash flow, whatever. California is great for that. If you're like, hey, I want just cash flow. Hey, you know what? There's a lot of podunk towns in the Midwest that you can go and cash flow. We want something in the middle, which was where I was, because I wasn't sure. I was like, I want cash flow, but I want a little equity. So I was like, probably at a scale of 1 to 10, I was like a 7, right? I wanted equity, but I still want a little bit of cash flow, right? So that's what I look for, right? So again, major things that I want anyone to look for are just economic drivers. This is what drives everything with population, right? So job growth. population growth, are companies and industries moving there, right? What types of jobs are moving there, right? So Dallas was my first market. Back then it was growing. Now it's growing like crazy. Caterpillar, the big Caterpillar company, they moved out there. Texas is obviously a very, business friendly state in general. I think Oracle moved there. Now they're moving to Tennessee. So what kind of jobs are actually moving there? And then because it's important, because then you can tell, what kind of wage is going to move there too. If there's a bunch of tech jobs going there, is that going to increase the median wage there? Probably, right? So that's always important. Again, this is probably where most people get analysis paralysis on. This is actually my first house. I love this because the mailbox is actually my favorite part. Little red mailbox, barn house. It's almost as big as the actual house. So other things to look at too when we look at target market is rent to price ratio, right? So again, this is like your rental income divided by your median price. This is just kind of tells you, hey, is this a growth market or is this more of a high yield market in general? Same with housing affordability index. So it's median home price divided by annual income. Again, great to see, is it actually affordable for people to even buy? So I'll give you a hint. In San Francisco, I think this number is like 40, right? But in like Huntsville, Alabama, it's a 4, right? Because what people actually make to how much houses cost, it's a lot closer. Versus here, people make a lot of money here, but to be honest, housing is so expensive here too. So it outweighs that, especially nowadays. And then percentage of renters too, because if you're going to be buying to rent it out, you want people to actually rent there. Crazy concept. So right now, the national average is around 20 to 25%. Ideal renter amount is about 30 to 40% in the market. Now, this is kind of a crazy thing. We'll talk about this as a more macro market situation, but that number of renters in America is growing like crazy. Because affordability is tougher and tougher, the amount of renters is going up and up and up. And we're actually becoming a renter nation in general. So if you look at older countries in general, I mean, the United States is a very young country still compared to a lot of countries. So if you look at Europe countries, majority, more than 50% are renters. Right? It's just been like the American dream for us, right, in America, that we own. But that American dream is slowly getting harder and harder to accomplish because, housing prices are going up and up and up. And even with interest rates higher than it is right now, what happened these last couple of years? Home prices still went up, which is scary because if it goes down, then it's going to go crazy and crazy. And right now, it's the biggest difference, I think, between what your mortgage would cost versus rent. I think your average mortgage is twice as much than what it will be. What that means is that there's a lot more room for rent to grow. And we're seeing that across the board right now, where rents are going up and up and up. And that sucks because if you're a renter, it's a ticking time bomb, right? Because as rents go up and up and up, but houses keep going up and up and up, not only are you, but your wages are not going up fast enough, right? That means that you're making less and less every year, and you're saving less and less every year. So to be able to afford a down payment and to have the debt to income to even afford the homes that are going up in price while your rent's going up and crushing your debt to income, right? So that's a lot real quick. So I'm gonna take a pause real quick. I just said a lot of things right there. Anyone have any questions online or live here on that? Rock and roll. All right. Type of 2 in the chat if you guys are still with me, or type of 5 if you guys fell asleep already. All right. Norm, you say, when do you feel confident financial enough to quit your corporate job in your timeline? I'll talk about that here in a second. So great question. All right. So real quick, also, all right, cool. Got a lot of people still awake. That's great. All right. So market example here. I mean, San Antonio was our second market we went to. Dallas was our first. So here, again, a lot of good industries here. So different variety of industries. So Dallas was our first market that has everything. That has like tech, finance, oil, all that stuff. San Antonio, same thing, as oil, military, cybersecurity is big there. So you want to have different industries there. So if one goes down pretty heavily, then you're okay. High percent of renters here. This is fun fact about San Antonio. They're one of the lowest average credit scores of the population in the nation. I don't know why, but it is. So a lot of people rent there, about 40%. Net migration was 13%. Job growth was 2%. Housing affordability index at the time was 3.79, so really good at that time. But really, other data points I loved looking at was what's the median home price in the area, right? But not in the best times. Not in 2021. Everything went up. Detroit went up. Like all these crappy markets went up, right? not to hate on Detroit if anyone's investing there. But what happened in 0809 is what I think is the most important, right? So by the time you bought your house, right, in 09, that's probably the peak low, if you will. So in San Antonio, what happened here? Right, 08, now negative 0.26, and in 09, negative 2.29%. So it barely went down during the worst time. This is probably the worst housing market of all time, in our generation at least. And it only went down 2%, right? So that gave me a lot of confidence in, like, all right, even in a bad time, I'm going to be good. And I'm a very risk averse person in general. Jennie is our more risk go forward person. But I'm like, let's back it up. Like, let's look at the data. Let me make a decision based off numbers and stuff. And I just felt confident that, okay, even in the worst times, it only went down to negative 2%. I'm comfortable with that risk, right? Because every other year was like up. I mean, in good times you go 14.5%. Right? I'll take that negative 2% all day long, right? So, yeah. So that's, you want, again, job growth, population growth, wage growth, varieties of industries, and a good percentage of renters as well. Questions on that? Good. All right, cool. All right, so now we got our first investment property, right? Defining moment. And we honestly, we made a lot of mistakes there too. So first investment property, you went in there, I underwrote the deal. Numbers are great. Actually, let me tell you the full story. Actually, it's really funny. So again, super unconfident, just like trying to figure it all out, right? And anyone know what a turnkey company is? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I was talking to a bunch of turnkey companies, and they're sending me deals, and I was like, these deals look like crap, right? And I just remember I was evaluating one within Dallas, and in a little city called Mesquite, Texas, which is East Dallas. And they sent me this deal with 170 grand, right? Brand new construction, all that stuff. And I was doing my research, and down the street there was another property that was renovated for 140 grand. And I was like, wait a minute, same specs, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, why is this one 30K more, right? I'm just gonna buy this one. That's what I did. I called my agent. I was like, hey, put an offer in on this deal right now because the numbers worked. And she's like, are you sure? Like, don't you want to see it? And I was like, no, just put the offer in, right? I'll deal with all that stuff later. Right? And I put the offer in, and right after that, got accepted like the next day. And I was, holy crap, I got accepted. Like, should I back out? and yeah, so that's how I got my first deal, was actually looking at turnkey companies, but not buying their crappy deals, but actually looking at comps in the area, right? And seeing that there's other deals that are way cheaper, right? What I neglected to do, and if anyone ever works with turnkey companies, they don't do this really well. They don't put capex in, capital expenditures in, right? And I didn't either, right? Because I was just learning. And I was like, ACs don't break. I don't even have AC. I live in the Bay Area, right? And guess what happened? I guess Dallas is pretty hot. I guess, I don't know. And the first year the AC broke, and I underwrite that. So all the cash flow I made the first year went right into buying a new air conditioning unit. Right, so that was fun. But guess what? That second deal, I didn't make that same mistake, right? And now what we do, I underwrite for capital expense and cap reserves, right? So that was our first deal. Started buying multifamily out there, self-managed them. That's a whole nother story right there. But my mindset at this time, I was still working my corporate job, was I want to save. I'll save every year, then I'll buy. I'll reload and I'll buy again. And I'll reload and I'll buy again. And I was averaging like 1 to 2 deals a year, right? But I was doing the math on it and the cash flow. Like, I was making like, I don't know, like $400 on that deal a month. And I was like, how many of these do I have to do? And how much money do I need to make to actually make this work, right? And the answer was a lot, right? I was like, not enough for me to make in my lifetime, I don't think. Again, I was making like, at this point, I was probably making like 100 grand, right? So I was making a lot of money at this point, right? So that was my mindset, was in, I got to save them buy, but then really shortly after, ran out of capital. So I was like, I got to keep on doing stuff, right? So again, doing the math. I remember I was at a conference in Austin, and so this stat right here, 2022, Americans reported saving an average of $5,000 a year. That's after its income, expenses, after taxes, all that stuff. $5 grand a year, right? Millennials reporting the best saving. I guess millennials were the best at saving, $6 grand a year. That's average. Again, California, sure, minimum wage, but we have higher expenses though too, right? $6,000 a year, just do that math, right? If you're trying to make 120K a year passively, $6,000 a year, you got to invest. So if you're going to make 120K a year passively, right, and your average return is 8% cash on cash return, you need to invest $1.5 million at an 8% cash on cash return to get there. So let's do some quick math. I'm not very good right now at math. But $6,000 divided by 1.5 million. How many years is that? I don't know. A lot of freaking years, I guess, right? So that math did math to me, right? And so again, I was saving a little more than $6,000, but that's my number's still coming out the same. Like something's got to change if I'm going to actually be able to do this. Because I was like, how do people actually do this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, all these people talking on, it wasn't YouTube at the time. It was probably just Google and podcasts back then. But all these people talk about how they did this. And I was like, I don't know how you do. I'm doing the math right now. Like, unless you're making millions of dollars a year, right? So again, you guys have a choice, right? Option one is just keep doing what you're doing. Have your W-2, have your 401k. I guarantee you're not gonna have enough to retire, right? We're gonna be living to 120 nowadays, right? If you're retiring at 65, you gotta live, you gotta have enough money to spend for another 60 years, essentially, of your life, right? I guarantee you're gonna run out. Inflation's high, gas is $6 a gallon, whatever it is in your state, but in California, it's $6. So, for me, it was option two. I got to make a change, right? The definition of insanity is thinking that your result will be different if you don't make a change. So you got to figure out how. How do you make this work, right? And here's Jennie with Tony Robbins here. Got to talk to him one-on-one, and I love his quote by him. It's like, in moments of decision, destiny is shaped. And that was one of my aha moments, being in Austin by myself, bringing out the numbers, writing out the numbers, right? And being like, holy crap, this is not, like, both options suck, right? Me just saving and buying is not going to help me get there. And an option one of just me working my job is not going to get me there. So what's the option? Like, find a different way, right? So what is that different way? All right. So then 2019, our assets turned to buy more assets. So I talked about us trying to burr. So that was really cool. We got to start to recycle our capital, right? Because that was the one thing that we did change, was let's recycle our capital, right? So we did a few burrs that year. It was awesome. Awesome equity that way too. Not great for cash flow, but great for equity. But at this time, I was starting to make some good money in my job, and I didn't need the income. And I was house hacking still. So again, like, I had no expenses really. I was just saving all my money and then basically investing the rest of that and then burning it. So then I had that same nest egg that I can reuse and reuse and reuse. But what was really cool is that now, 4 years into investing, our assets had actually gained a lot of value. I was okay, cool. I have all the equity in these assets. I can make some moves with these, right? And so, on top of the burrs, we were, basically trying to go as fast as possible. So we took that same house, or my first house, which I am kind of sad I sold. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of had sentimental value for me, especially that mailbox. But we sold it, 1031 exchanged it into this 16 unit, and we're gonna talk about this a little later. But cash flows like $3,700 a month to this day. Used the $95,000 as part of my down payment, and yeah. So again, now our assets are buying assets for us, right? I did nothing really. I barely put any work into this first house, but now it bought me the 16 unit, which is my first commercial property, right? And so now we're starting to make momentum. This was Jennie's first house. This was in Huntsville, Alabama. She bought it for, I think it was $69,000 back then in 2017. Right? And down payment was 17 grand. She's getting about $100 cash a month. Again, 1031 that property into this fourplex, right? That gives us $100 a month, right? And it's worth, I think we bought it for like 180K, and now it's worth like 300K, right? So building equity, building cash flow. 1 unit turns to 4 units. $100 of cash flow turns into $600 of cash flow without really even using any money, of our own money, right? So now you're doing that plus burrs. So now we're really starting to make a lot of momentum, and you can see on our timeline. We jumped from, 823K to 1.45. So that's when we hit our millionaire, stuff, our accredited investor, kind of worth. And we had 21 units at that time. And that kind of got addicting. I'm not gonna lie, right? So Norm, I think your question was, when did you feel confident enough to quit your job? And so the answer to that is when I bought my first commercial multifamily, so I'm talking about right here. Well, let me talk about why we even kind of started to scale up into these bigger deals. Is because we were doing these burrs, right? These single family burrs, right? And it's cool. You get your money back out, great. You can repeat. It's awesome. But at the end of the day, you're like $100 of cash flow after that. And you're like, oh, this is not going to be fast enough. So same math problem was like, oh my God, it's not fast enough. How do we do this, right? So and the time factor too. right? Well, like I want to leave my job ASAP, right? I remember I told my boss, I was working at ADP at the time. I told the person I was interviewing with, my VP at the time, I was like, hey, I'm gonna eventually leave and do real estate full time. And she's like, give me 3 years, right? And then you can do whatever you want, right? And so I was on a ticking time bomb of a thing that I told her, right? And so I was like, let me do bigger deals, right? And honestly, these bigger deals, is it scarier? Yes, right? I had a mental block of like, oh my God, there's no way I could do these type of deals because there's the additional comma in it, right? An additional number. So I felt that was more risky. But what was more risky was just me not making a change at all, right? And so really started to be like, all right, let's just jump in. Let's just do our first one. And so this was a 16 unit that we did in commercial multifamily, right? Anything 5 units or above. The value of the property is based off of the net operating income divided by the cap rate in the area, right? So this is a 6 cap area, as we call. This was a value add property. This guy was like 78 years old or something like that, and just wanted to get out, right? He's super old, wanted to retire. So bought it off him. The NOI at the time, the net operating income was $67,000. So the current value is about 1.26. My projected net operating income was 105K, right? So that gets us to a $1.75 million valuation, right? So did the deal, did a BRRRR on a bigger deal now, right? So bought at 1.135, put 20% down, renovated the units about $50,000 to renovate. So I was all in, cash wise, about $283,000. But remember, some of that was 1031 exchange money, right? Got all the rents up to market value. My net operating income went from $67,000 to 105K a year. So again, the valuation, 1.75 million, right? I got a new loan to value. They okay? Okay, cool. New loan based on the new value at 68% loan to value, which is a new loan about 1.2 million, right? So that $1.2 million loan paid off my old loan of about 900 grand, right? And I got 300K back to me, right? So I put 283K in and I got 300K back to me. Which one's a bigger number? 300K, right? So I actually made a little money and I still own the asset that, again, still gets me about $3,500 a month of cash flow. I made 600K of equity this deal too, right? So now we're really moving, right? So that instead of a BRRRR of a single family house that I'm making $100, that's made this much money. And so Norm, to answer your question of when I felt comfortable to leave my W-2 was actually Jennie, my wife, told me, she's like, yo, Calvin, like, just look at the math here, right? You made 600K of equity and you're making $3,500 a month in cash flow on just this one deal. And I was making like, I don't know, like 380K a year in my job, right? In tech, which is a good job with good income at that point. That my parents were like, why are you leaving? But Jennie's like, hey, okay, well, put it this way. How much time did you spend on this deal? Right? And I was like, I don't know, like maybe like 40 hours in total. And she's like, all right, how many time do you spend your job every week? It's like 40 hours at least a week. I was probably putting like 60, 70 hours a week, right? And she's like, all right, we'll just do that math. Or we can do a ton of these every year. And I was like, wife, you're right. I was like, marry me, and she was right. So that's what we did, and that's why, I quit my job. And I'm not gonna lie, I had a big identity problem with that. I did not like my job. Like I liked the people part of it, and I thought that's who I was. I felt my identity was my tech job, and I think coupled with this deal and understanding and really they were trying to promote me as well, and I knew that was like a kind of a fork in the road of like, am I ever gonna get out of my job, or am I just gonna try to climb corporate ladder? And it was a tough time in my life because I just didn't know. So I thought, on one hand, like that's who I have been. It's safety, it's security. Nowadays, not really, but like a lot of people taking laid off. But like back then, it felt like safety and security, right? And on the other hand was uncertainty and unknown and scariness, right? And no structure. And I think we just were able to take a bet on ourselves and just said like, yeah, let me just go do it. The worst case scenario, I can always go back, right? Like, at that time tech was in demand, like, so I could always go back to tech job. I don't know about nowadays, but back then I felt confident about that. So I did, and that's normal. That's why I felt comfortable enough to leave my job and quit, right? And really went full Monty into it. did 7 deals the next year. But really on top of that, another reason why it made sense to also quit was our tax advantages. Right? So anyone familiar with accelerated depreciation in here? For my Zen Coast peeps. All right, so if y'all own investment property and do your taxes, which you probably all just did, right? You got a Schedule E, right? You guys probably all got a Schedule E this year, right, for your investment properties. This basically has your income up here, right, for y'all online, right, and it has your expenses down here, right? But one of these line items is not real money, right? It's Fugazi money, is what I like to call it. Anyone know what that is? Depreciation. What's that? Yeah, it's a paper loss. Yeah. And I think it's someone told me the story about depreciation. I think it was the Walmart people were like all pissed off, like, yo, we have all these Walmarts and all the stuff, all the fixtures and the stores and the drywall and all that, they're not worth the same. So I should be able to write that off. Right. So they convinced the IRS to basically write this code in, right, of depreciation. So thank you, Walmart. Appreciate that. And all for your low prices for everything. But yeah, depreciation, it's not a real number, right? It's just, tax code, things that you can write off. Now, everyone gets straight line depreciation, which is typically over a 27.5-year period. But if you're what's called a real estate professional status, which is you work in real estate for 750 hours or more a year, or if you're in your W-2, you work more than that in real estate than you do your W-2, then you can qualify as a real estate professional status. And then what you could do is do what's called these cost segregation studies, which will be an engineering report about all the things that you can depreciate in your place. And then what you can do is do what's called accelerated depreciation. So instead of being 27.5 years, you can do it in a 5, 7, or 15-year period, right? But then you basically take it all in 1 year, right? And a lot in your first year. And in this example, I think the depreciation line item is $3,800, right? That's on straight line depreciation, 27.5 years. If you did accelerated depreciation, that number might be like 40 grand, right? So then that 40 grand will go down to this bottom number here and be negative 40 grand, right? And if you're a real estate professional, that will bleed over into your income, your active income, right? Or if you're married to one, then that will bleed over to your spouse's active income, right? And so for me, Jennie was a real estate agent, so that was nice. So we did get married that year for taxes and love, right? But it's a huge advantage, right? Because now that 40K or whatever that you save, you can do well with. You can buy a boat. Not kidding. Do not buy a boat. Go buy more real estate and do it again and again and again, right? And this is something that this last administration has been kind of trying to phase out. So it used to be 100% bonus depreciation. Last year was 80%. This year is 60%. Right? So you can take less and less and less. Except for they are most likely, I don't have a crystal ball, but most likely, if I were a betting man, I'd say they're absolutely going to bring it back this year, 100%, which is awesome, which means that you can actually retroact it for last year too. So basically, you get these reports. So basically, this same example, this multifamily, also saved me, this is the actual report, $354,000, right, of taxable income savings. So if I made $354,000 that year, then I paid no taxes, right? But boom, that was like a big holy crap moment, right? So that made a lot of sense for us. So then, knowing what I knew, was like, all right, let me just go freaking all in then on this, right? And thankfully, the rates were super low too. I was like, I can go all in on this and like really have momentum. And I don't remember if you guys remember 2020 either. Everyone was scared to buy. Like people were like not touching anything. So we got off to a hard start. Like we bought this deal, I think it was like December 2020, and we just went. Like every month we were buying a deal, right? And I think by the time it caught up to everyone, like we already had like a bunch of these deals, and it was crazy, right? So fast momentum, right? These are funnel, right? So these are all the 7 deals we did. We had 23 unit, it was direct to seller, 10 unit from a broker. I'm saying where we kind of source these deals too, so you guys can see like where all the flow comes from, right? So this one with a texting campaign, that's from a broker, that's from a broker, from a broker, from a broker, from a broker, and that's from my network. There's networking, right? So again, agents, brokers are still the number one source for us because they do this every day. That's what they do. All they do is go source deals, right? But we still have a funnel of everything, right? Texting, networking, all that stuff. And I can't tell you how many times I've found deals just that way as well, right? So you want to have all your funnel for everything because then you get to see more deals. And the more deals you see, you can pick the best ones for yourself, right? So yeah, so future funnel. I want to highlight this one because I love this story. We found this one through a texting campaign that we used to do, and I love this because I put $0 in this deal. It's a 23 unit deal, almost $2 million, right? Basically did a texting campaign back today. So again, texting law changed a little bit, but we were literally, I had my VAs literally texting people one by one, right? So they would profile lists. This was in Alabama. We look at all the multifamily of every address, right? And then we cross-reference and find the owner. You can go to state websites. Our lowest hanging fruit was when you go to the tax records and state websites, the ones that were actually in people's names on LLCs were our lowest hanging fruit, right? So we just started texting a bunch of them every day, text. And it was really funny. You kind of learn some nuances. Right? So again, you do a lot of text, you see what works, you kind of A/B test it right in a way. Coming from California, coming from a tech background, I'm like all buttoned up, like, trying to be professional, but really the most casual, direct to the point was actually what worked the best, right? It was like, hey, Mr. Blank, what would you sell this property for here? That's it. That's all I texted, right? And I used to think it was like this long paragraph text. No, they don't read it. Just say, hi, Mr. In the South, Mr. is huge, Mr. and Mrs., right? Versus saying, hey, Eric. They say, hey, Mr., right? So that was big. So we did that a lot. Texted this one guy. He responded just with a number. He's like 875K. And so why was he trying to sell? I mean, this was a tornado damaged building. You see this one right here? There's no window. And basically the back half of his building was gone. Right? So a tornado hit this property and it just sat there for like 5 years, and he inherited it from his father. Didn't know how to renovate multifamily, so just sat there, right? And so he's telling me the numbers, 875K. I was like, all right, that seems potentially reasonable. Let me do the numbers. It actually worked out for my model. So I texted him. I was like, all right, like let's have a call. So we had a conversation, negotiated a bunch, and yeah, I mean we negotiated for a long time, right? And finally got to a number that worked, but with the terms that I needed, right? So at this point, rates were starting to go up a little bit. I was like, all right, like how do we get this deal done, right? And so basically I was like, hey man, there's nothing in this building. It's a shell, right? No bank is gonna give me a loan on this, so you're gonna have to hold a note. You're gonna have to sell or finance this, right? And he agreed, and we basically talked to his lawyer, dropped off the paperwork, and got the deal done. So how we had $0 down on this. So he actually would only do 50% of the purchase price, right? And sell or finance that. That's all he could do, right? So percent rate with him, 25-year amortization with a 15-year term, which was awesome. I got a first lien commercial loan position, which is that and a construction loan that they will cover 375K of the purchase and 100% of the rehab. It's about 400K of rehab on this one. And I brought a capital partner to just do the remaining 100K that I just partnered with. I would do all the work, they did 100K. Right, so that's how we put $0 down in this deal. Now this deal is really funny actually because we started negotiating. We had it on a contract, filed a contract, went in a contract, filed a contract. I think we were trying to both play hardball on. And I remember this very vividly. This is why having good attorneys and having good contracts is very key. One of the closing dates, we had a closing date that we had to hit, right? And I'm communicating with the lawyer at this point, saying like, hey, cool, we're gonna close. I think we need like one more day. The lender just needs like a day to figure out the back end LLC stuff. And she's like, cool. That was the last day. That was the due date. Next morning, this is why I love hate lawyers. Love them on my side, hate them on their side. She emails me, says, hey, you're in breaching contract. We're gonna walk away from the deal. Thank you for your earnest money deposit. And I was like, mother. I remember being so pissed. And so first thing I did was I just started reading my contract, right, and just looking through it. And thank freaking Jesus, there was a term in there that said lender can extend for 3 days if needed to close. So I emailed her back. I copy and pasted that back. I said, suck it. We had 3 more days, and the lender closed on the deal, and we were able to do it. But yeah, so fun story there. So it's not all roses and butterflies, but I love that. That gets me juiced up. Of like, oh, you could say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna roll over and just not gonna be able to do this, or you could say, you know what? How do I make this work, right? And so we were able to make it work, and we closed it. And we refi this, you got appraised back for 1.8 million. And yeah, and this thing cash flows like a beast right now. So we're super stoked on this deal. And so no money in. So it's awesome. So like I said, guys, just continue to feed your funnel, right? All right. So 2022 happens, right? Rates go up, fear in the market. We get sued, we get audited. It's a crazy time, right? And so what I'd say here is when rates go up, cool, be water, right? So Bruce Lee, infamous quote, you must be shapeless, formless like water. When you pour in a cup, it becomes a cup. When you pour water in a bottle, it becomes a bottle. When you pour water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can drip, it can crash, so become like water, my friend. And I love this because what that means is what? It means be flexible. Whatever the rules of the game are now, be flexible to that. Don't just be doing the same things you've been doing forever, right? Doing a deal in 2020 is totally different than doing a deal in 2024. Like if anyone ever says differently, then I would beg to differ a lot, right? So 2021 super hard to get into deals because it was so competitive. Rates are low, but it was so everyone was trying to buy a house. Everyone and grandma, my Uber driver was buying homes. Like everyone was buying homes, right? 2024 rates went up. 2023 rates went up. No one's buying homes. Crickets, right? But rates are high, right? So you got to figure out different ways to do deals, right? So that's what we did, right? So we had to adjust our market, right? So 2023 rates were high, prices came down a little bit, right, for a second. Now they went back up. What was the issue? What's the main issue that we were having problems with? It's in hard cash flow. That's across the board. Still is a problem, right? How do you solve that, right? So I love that meme, right? But modern problems need modern solutions. So be creative, right? So we started looking for just creative financing deals, right? So here's the 52 unit that we did, 2020, whatever it was, 2022, 2023. 52 units. We bought for $3.4 million. Again, market rents were 28K, or monthly rents were 28K, expenses were 12K. So net operating income was about 16K. The bank loan, so normal bank loan at the time was like 6.5%. That'd be about 13K for a mortgage. So it would be about a 3K cash flow every month, or 3% cash on cash. That was not a very good deal, right, with bank loans. But so same thing with the guy. I'm like, hey, dude, you can have your price or your terms, right? If you want your price, then you gotta give me really good terms, right? So we seller finance this deal, right? So basically, the owner was the note holder on this one, and I said 4.75% rate, right? And it's interest only on a 30-year amortization, so it's about 9K a month, interest only at that point. So right now we still cash flow 11K a month on this thing, and so it's a 9.1 cash on cash return. So it's an awesome deal in general, and we're still on our interest only for another month until next month. So again, modern solutions for modern problems, right? Just find a way how we can make this work. Funny story about this deal, and that's why I love like telling these stories, because every deal has something that always comes on in the background that no one ever knows. But this one, we were trying to hit our end of year that year, right? Because we wanted to get the accelerated depreciation for this year. The owner didn't want to sell that year because he wanted to not pay taxes until the following year, right? So we were kind of what I like to call was a Mexican standoff, right? We're in December at this point. We're under contract. He's unsure if he's going to close. I'm trying to push it. So our solution on this was, and this is why having a good team, and we'll talk about that in a second here, is so important, right? So again, you could say, okay, crap, I guess I'm not going to have this deal for this year. I'm not going to sell on taxes, right? Or we can say, all right, how do we make a win-win solution for both parties, right? So what we did on this one was we said, all right, I want to close this year, you want to close next year, right? We're doing seller finance, we're doing interest and interest only, right? So what we did was said, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to close on December 30th for 0% down, right? And on January 1st, we're going to do our first payment, right? Our first principal payment. It's going to be a lot of money, right? And then after our second principal payment will be a normal amount of money. That's how we got around that to close on that date, so that he can win and I can win too. But again, people don't know this unless you have a good team, unless you have that basic knowledge of, okay, is this even work? Because at first I was like talking to my broker when he told me the news. I was like, is this even possible? Can I do this? And he's like, I don't know. Hung up the phone. I called my lawyer. I called my CPA. I'm like, is this possible? Okay, is this legal? Can I do this? On a tax perspective, can I do this? Okay, on a legal perspective, is this possible? Both were like, yes. You just have to do this, this, and this, right? And that's how we got to it. So again, it's not a question of I can't do it, this sucks for me. It's how can I do this, right? So awesome. All right, 2023. Got to be a general partner on a $21 million deal, right? And this is where I'd say find your wolf pack, right? If you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go far, you go together, right? For me, guys, people with everything, right? That's what makes or breaks everything in life. You can know all the tactics, but if you don't know the right people, you're never gonna get anywhere. You can ask anyone in any industry if that's true, and it is. Do you want to be a millionaire? Cool. Find 10 people and make them millionaires. I guarantee you that'll get you there. And this can be in every bucket in life. If you want to be super jacked and super fit, go find someone who's super jacked and super fit. Just hang around them. By osmosis, you will do it. Yeah, go hang out with you, right? But I think there's two ways to think about this, right? So one is, I think a lot of people are asking the question, how do I find these people? But I think that's the wrong question. The wrong question is, who do I need to be to attract these amazing people to show up in my life, right? And, I live and die by that, and I've seen that happen over and over and over again. Even in our university, people was asked, how do you find your coaches? Well, we didn't find anyone. We just were us, and people just showed up in our lives. Kyle showed up in our lives, like in general. MD Michelle showed up in our lives. Everyone did, right? And so I think if you're a good person, you act with good integrity, and you are in your core values of who you are as a human being. The people that have the same core values will be attracted to the same thing, right? And that includes business partners and everything, right? And so you'll have your core four guys, right? All your people that you should have on your team, your deal finders, which can include your agents, your wholesalers, your direct to market or direct to seller people, your network, your construction people, contractors, property managers or project managers, inspectors, handymen, cleaners, your capital, your banks, your hard money lenders, your private money lenders, your sellers, right? Your operations could be anyone from property managers, asset managers, lawyers, CPAs, bookkeepers, and title, right? But again, like you want to make sure that they also share the same long-term vision. They're like-minded. They share the same ethics and values. If I've made some mistakes in life, it is because I've trusted the wrong people in my life. They didn't click the red. They didn't click that box of they're a great person, right? So that's one advice I'll give you guys there. And also, it's not just about your external team, right? I'd say that's your external team. You also need an internal team, your spouse, right? A lot of y'all came with your spouse today. If you don't have one, your eventual spouse, right, is someone that is going to be your biggest partner in this, right? Because you're going to have some good times, you're going to have some bad times too, right? You have someone that supports you along the way no matter what, and that that even if it all went to crap, you still have someone that loves you and you love them. That's all that really matters in this life, right? Having a business coach, right? Whether it's real estate or something else, having mentors, having mentees, right? So I would say have mentors, but also have mentees, right? The best way to learn is to teach other people too, right? Have a mindset coach. Mindset's everything. If you all don't think that, then again, LeBron James has all these coaches, right? Probably not a real estate coach, but he might have a real estate coach. I don't know, but he has all different kind of coaches for all different parts of his life, right? And we do too. We have a mindset coach, we have a vision coach, we have a spiritual coach, we have a fitness coach, right? Because I know that if I want to improve in that area in life, I need to find people that have done it so that they can be my time multiplier. Right? What we said in the beginning, guys, currency is not money. Currency is time. Money can buy you more time, sure, right? And coaches can buy you more time too. Right? So have those external people too, right? Because then you're going to be able to accelerate a lot faster in general. All right. So multifamily, 2023, 2024, that's where we're at right now, right? So interest rates are still high. We thought we were going to have 6 rate caps this year. I'd be surprised if we have one. And I think, honestly, to be honest, guys, I don't think they should lower rates. Do I want them to lower rates? Heck yeah. Should they? Why? If home prices are still going up, right? Then when they lower rates, it's gonna cause even more affordability issues in general. So it might be exactly where it needs to be. This might be the new norm, right? Cap rates going up, insurance rates are going up, right? Inventory is low across the board, residential, multifamily, everything. Sellers are not selling unless they're stressed where they need to, right? So multifamily, that's the case. Residential, sellers are just not selling in general, unless they're retiring or there's death or someone just moving to a different state or something like that. But you look at the peninsula right now, there's not a lot of inventory in general still. And multifamily fundamentals are fine, right? Rents are going up. There's more renters in the market. Less people are buying homes right now. But where the issue is with multifamily is the debt, right? So there was a lot of short-term bridge debt for deals that got done in the last 3 years, $4 billion of that is coming due, right? In October, November last year. And and a lot of banks have actually worked with people to keep that debt, but eventually the banks are going to have to release these too because they can't have that much bad debt on the books. It's actually the biggest problem with the high interest rates right now is the banks. Like, those are the ones that are probably going to fail first. And Jerome Powell has actually even come out and said this. He said, hey, we're going to see some bank failures. Yeah, he's like, yeah, that's going to happen. Not our big banks, but our banks that have a lot of bad debt on the books. So some bad multifamily, some bad office-based debt, right? Residential is fine. Everyone has 30-year AMs at 2.0% rates, right? No one's selling there. They're keeping those bad boys for a long, long time, right? Which is contributing to the supply problem. So I think in residential, there's no fundamental issue with residential right now, investing wise, because to be honest, less supply just means it's going to go up in value. So if you can get into a deal that is creative, that you can do like some work on or something like that, add value. You know, Christina and I were looking at a 3-bedroom house in Sacramento. You can potentially make it into a 4-bedroom house. Did they get back on us? Did they say you can make it into a 4-bedroom? You did. Cool. So like deals like that where you can actually add square footage or add bedrooms or bathrooms, right? And that equals opportunity for us. It's not, oh, I shouldn't do a deal. It's, oh, cool. Like, I can't wait to go see these deals. And we're seeing a lot of these happening right now. We did this deal last year, right? That Eric and Stephanie are in as well. That essentially this seller had bridge debt coming up and he had to sell, right? So he sold it for his loan amount, right? Just to get out. And that's happening more and more and more, right? And this deal, I mean, our pro forma right now, net operating income 1.193, current value 21. That's kind of where we bought it at. NOI right now is about 1.83 million. Our projected value, if we get our NOI up, it will be 33 million, right? Based on a 5.5 cap rate. So we're gonna hold this for about 5 to 7 years. But I mean, that's a $10 million, jump in general. And we're only doing about $1 million of capex. And by the way, guys, it's actually doing really well. You guys getting emails and stuff? Yeah, cool. So, so all of these deals are coming right now. And, when I say like kind of what's that plan? Like, we have 50 million under management right now. Our goal is to get to 100 million next few years. And Warren Buffett, someone I respect a lot, he's not really a big real estate guy, even though he does own a lot of mobile parks. He always says, you buy when there's blood on the streets, right? And right now, a lot of people got into really, not even bad deals. They just got into really bad debt. I mean, no one could have predicted that rates would have doubled in a year. Like, that's never happened before, right? And so, what happens when people get caught with their pants down, essentially, is, there's going to be some blood, right? And so for us, I mean, coming up, we're going to be doing bigger deals. We're going to be doing these big deals of properties that are in distress, right? So same thing here. This is probably the second deal I've looked at this month that brokers brought that the seller has to sell because they're in a bridge debt situation. And both these deals I'm looking at right now have to do a cash and refinance or selling a property to save another property, right? So this deal, they're basically selling this property because they have to do a cash in refinance to save another property, right? Meaning that you got to bring $7 million to the table on a cash in refinance just to save that deal. So they're selling this deal that was actually a pretty decent deal just to save that one. So yeah, guys, a lot of opportunity out there in general if you guys are ready for that opportunity. Last quote here, one of our mentors, Brittany Turner, it says, playing small serves nobody. This is Jennie on Brittany's private island. This is all her ponies, right? But playing small serves nobody, meaning that, if we're going to just play small, like, how's it going to help the world? We have to go big so that we can make an impact on this world. And Jennie and I wholeheartedly believe that in general. So yeah. So next steps, guys, if you want to know more about Zen Coast, here's our QR code. Talk to Christina in the back. But if you're going to take anything from this, just know that do this, make a change, take action. It's so easy to come to these sessions, right? Online or in person here and say, cool, that was an awesome session. That sounds great. Let me go turn on Netflix now. And then tomorrow I go to my job and then you go reaction mode, right? Like, go make a change. Go make one thing. Go make one habit difference, right? And if you do that, I promise you, what's that quote? It's like 1 degree different when you're flying. If you're trying to go to London, can put you into South Africa or something like that. Like, I don't know if it's that drastic, but 1 degree can make a huge difference. So make that change, take action. If you're ever interested in partnering deals with us, you can email me, my email right there, or you can fill out our form at zencoastcapital.com. But other than that, that's all I have for you guys. open up for questions for everyone. And this is, if you guys are online, have questions, just come on mute and ask away. Was this helpful? Everyone still awake? Online, you all still awake? Can I get a 1 on the chat if you guys still awake? All right, some 1s in here. All right. So what are the questions we got in chat? I think Norm had or he might have direct messaged me. All right, question here. How did you find your brokers initially in areas you were looking to purchase? When doing seller finance, did you have a lawyer on your side? Yeah, so Norm, vetting your brokers initially in areas. Okay, so in multifamily, it's quite easy. There's not a lot of brokers that do a lot of deals out there, right? You have like maybe like 3 or 4 brokers that do all the deals in that area. So you don't really have a choice, right? You kind of have to work with those people. So again, they have like this imaginary list that they work with of their favorite clients that they know will buy a lot, and then everyone else. And your job is you have to go from that. They don't even know you to favorite client. So how do you do that? And every agent has, even residential, every agent has this deal, right? You're a real estate agent, you know your favorite investor clients. You're like, all right, I'm going to give them the deal first because I know they're going to close, or if they're going to be able to close, they're most likely. And then everyone else. So your job is to get from there to here, right? And so to do that is, you got to actually be a human being. You got to talk to them. You got to fly out there. You got to shake their hand. You got to like actually get to know them as a human being. What are they trying to do? What are their goals? What are your goals? Can you help them with their goals? Right? Okay, you're going to look at a deal. Are you serious about their deal? Are you going to waste their time? The number one thing that agents probably hate, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, is habitual time wasters, right? No one likes habitual time wasters, right? If you want to work with people that they want to do business with, right? So you gotta always like let them know, like, hey, I'm ready to go, right? I'm ready to go. I actually tell my brokers all the time, I'm in intentional change right now. Let's go do some business, because then they know I need to make a move, right? In general, so that always moves you up the list. So, Norm, that's how we vet brokers. If it's residential, totally different, right? I value people that, one, are really good communicators, that maybe understand investment properties, right? So, agents like to work with either investors or they like to work with retail buyers, right? Retail buyers are more emotional. Investors, they understand that you may be putting a lot of offers in, right? You may not get any of those bad boys qualified, but they're still there to work with you, right? They understand the long term of it too, of like, hey, I'm here to do multiple deals. So if you keep on feeding me, I will continue to do them. So communication, technology focus, especially if it's out of state, is huge for us. Coachability too, right? So we'll teach our brokers like, hey, these are the type of deals that we'll do, and then they'll start sending them, right? So like we'll give like a quick point. But back in the day, we're like, oh, 1% rule. That doesn't apply anymore. But we'll teach like that kind of rule and those kind of stuff to brokers. Your second question about when doing seller finance, do you have a lawyer on your side? Heck yeah, you definitely want a lawyer on your side, because there's no intermediate at that point. There's no broker to be like your intermediate, right? So you want to have a lawyer there to really kind of proofread everything and make sure that you're not getting screwed, because I'll was out there 100% of the time, whoever's writing the contract is the one that's going to have the most things that are for them, right? So you want to make sure that you have someone at least proofreading both sides, right? And usually what happens, Norm, is you get into a seller financing agreement, they'll have their lawyer, you have their lawyer, and essentially they'll talk to each other, right? And then you just talk to your lawyer about what you want to make sure that you have. So yeah, hopefully that helps. Okay. Yeah. What's your philosophy on like new construction? I don't love new construction, like, because what's the value? You're buying it from the builder. I mean, yeah, it's a new neighborhood. Typically, the builders aren't giving you a discount. Maybe you can get better rates right now. That's about it. But usually are families, right? They're not like it's not an established neighborhood yet. I got a lot of renters in there. People are buying to live there. You don't really have like, I like to walk the equity. The day one, I want to have equity built into it. Most new construction doesn't have that, right? Now to say, have I bought new construction before? Yeah, I have. Okay, right? But kind of like it depends on the waters and a lot of different things. And I will say it's probably the least stressful because it's brand new. You probably have it's probably a good neighborhood, right? In general, but your returns aren't. It's kind of a the same thing as like investing in Apple stock. Like you're not gonna walk in equity. You're kind of just gonna let it sit and just do its thing. So that's my viewpoint. Yeah. So now, in 2020, in 2021, 100%, right? So Kai used to do a lot of that, right? I used to call him the new construction Burger King because he would do new construction. By the time they were done, he'd burn out of it, right? So the question for online was, can you, would there be appreciation basically from when you put a deposit down to when you close or when you actually close? Because you get from phase one of a deal to the end of phase, there has been a lot of appreciation. Now that works in an appreciation market, right? It doesn't always work if you're late in the game or that market's been oversaturated with builds, right? So it depends, right? Like it depends on where you are in that market. We bought a new construction in Huntsville, proper in Madison, phase two. We made some money on it. It stopped appreciating. It's kind of flatline now, but we made some money on the up end. I just don't think that's. I'll put it this way: you don't control that, right? And I want to have control over my appreciation and equity, right? So I want to force it. I don't want to have like market dictate my appreciation. I want to be like, I made this appreciation, right? And if that 3% or 5% increase every year happens along the way, sweet, that's cherry on top. Yeah. What else? I'll take one from. All right, you guys can put it. Don't direct message me. Just put it in the everyone chat because Christina can actually read it out to me. Let's see. Direct message from H Johnson. Oh no, that was a thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, okay. Actually, H Johnson, you do have a question. Have you looked at motels? I have looked at motel conversions, right, to convert into multifamily. What I didn't like about those kind of deals, though, and I have some friends that do that really, really well, right? I just don't like them because most motels are. Have you been in a motel room? They're like 380 square feet, like so basically you're gonna have a crap ton of studios in your apartment complex if you convert them. And so I don't like that because what is a studio apartment? What kind of a demographic does that attract? Drug dealers, single dudes. Not gonna lie, like not like the best tenant base, right? So that's not that's not what I like. Not to say you can't make money on it. That's just not my niche. But I have looked at it, and that was what I found. Lorenzo is saying such an amazing. Oh, cool, awesome, man. Yeah, absolutely, brother. And then Christina, how do you feel? Oh, okay, you're saying that. Okay, cool. That was your question. Okay, what other questions? Yeah.
So, sounds like it's generally good to be in like a higher rental percentage market, right? Like, what if it's like, is there a situation where it's so high that it's saturated with too many rental properties?
Well, it depends how many rental properties there are on the market, right? So it can be, right? If there's too many renters for how many, or not, if there's too many homes for how many renters there are, that's saturated, right? But if it's the opposite, then your rents will kind of go up. So it's everything goes back to supply and demand, right? So like that happens, and naturally rents will just go down. So we're actually seeing that a lot in some markets where, so like for example, in Nashville, for example, there was a lot of buildings built, Class A buildings, right? So you kind of saw rents start to stabilize a lot there in general because a lot of new builds. Same with Dallas, same with all these big cities in general. Look at San Francisco. San Francisco is a perfect example. I used to live in Soma. Every day there was new construction of an apartment complex being built. And I remember the one that I pitched when I bought my condo. They're like, that won't be built forever. They built it, and now all I saw was an apartment complex across the street versus my view of Coit Tower. And that building was like half empty, right? And so what happened in San Francisco is all these buildings came online, and there was demand for it in 2019, and then March 15th of 2020 happened, and all that demand left, right? And nowadays, and rent went down significantly, right, in the city, and that's so it's kind of flatlined now, but that happened, right? And still, I would say occupancy is not amazing in the city, and like you would hear like stories about the NEMA building in the city going into default, right? Because they don't have enough people living there. That's a nice building. I have friends that live there, right? Like, so yeah, that's the supply and demand aspect of it. So that's why population growth is huge and job growth, because more jobs, more people live there. You have more potential for renters, especially if it's like millennial or I guess, Gen Z jobs nowadays, right? Like you have younger people that are not buying yet. So yeah. Yeah. So we did. You don't have to, right? So I did just look at the market and meet the agents. I would totally recommend going out there just to meet the agents and understand the area very well. Uh, but other than that, like once you find a trustworthy team, right, then it's all about like, just trust them, trust and verify, right? That's why I say technology is very big. I had agents that would used to like create Facebook groups for every property that they looked at with us, me, my wife, and her. And she would go with video and tour the whole thing and all that stuff and really point out everything and was super proactive and loved it. Um, that to a point, there were projects that I had never. There's like a lot of projects I've never been into. Still, I'm like, oh, cool, that sounds great. Like that deal was probably fine, So, but trust and verify. You need your boots on the ground team for that to work. So going out there to actually meet them, to know what areas that you want to invest in is really good.
Have you analyzed ARV pro forma so that you have a good idea of the return on? You just use comps for it?
Repeat the question.
Analyze ARV when you pro forma so that you have a good idea of the return on income.
Okay. Is residential? Yeah, I just comps for it. So basically we'll go into like, what sources you have, like ARV, you can look at Redfin, Zillow, just look at the sold tab, 3 months, you'll get like a similar type of property. So 3 bedroom, 2 bath, you're gonna make it to a 4 bedroom, you can do 4 bedroom, right? How much square feet? I use like a 25% variance in square footage. So if it's 2,000 square foot house that your house is, I'll look at 2250. The range of square foot house I'll look for sold is 1750 to 2250. Right? That way I have a little more data. Start with 3 months, see if there's data around that. If not, go to 6 months. If not, go to a year. If not, geographically expand out. I don't love geographically expanding out because neighborhoods can be so different area. Like you want to stay in that little neighborhood as much as possible. So that's how we find comps. And honestly, I think a lot of people get stuck in comps, but I think it's one of the easiest things. If you just go on Redfin, all that data is there for you already, and just look at the sold data. So awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate all y'all staying today, all y'all that came out. Hope it was helpful. Other than that, definitely reach out if you want the presentation. I think there's the DM and the number as well. Go email us if you need it, or DM me in general. But other than that, guys, have an amazing night, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon. All right, take care.